Ayaan had always believed that silence was safer than truth. In the locker room, where laughter echoed and shoulders clashed in celebration, he wore his quiet like armor. Teammates joked, cursed, teased, especially Zayan, but Ayaan lingered, on the edge, never too far to be excluded, never close enough to be vulnerable. That delicate balance had always worked, until Zayan noticed him. Zayan was sunlight in human form, sharp grin, confident voice, every move carrying ease like it had been rehearsed. His presence shifted energy in a room, and Ayaan, despite himself, watched. Not like a lover, at least not in the way he admitted aloud, but with an ache he didn't know how to file away. Zayan made things complicated without meaning to. Their connection started small, shared drills after hours, Ayaan helping him stretch when a pulled muscle refused to heal. Zayan had a habit of lingering in conversations, asking more questions than necessary, laughing a little too long at Ayaan's rare jokes. It was harmless. Probably. But Ayaan knew that harmlessness was a currency he couldn't afford to miscalculate. After the regional win, the team planned a weekend retreat. A quiet lakeside lodge, no coaches, just the team unwinding. Ayaan almost didn't go, but Zayan's message was unexpected and oddly direct. "Don't skip this. I want you there." Just 5 words. They ran through Ayaan's mind the entire drive. That night, the fire crackled outside while the rest of the team sang off key and passed drinks around. Ayaan sat beside Zayan on the porch railing, a safe distance from the chaos. The moonlight reflected off the lake, painting a blur of silver across the water. Zayan took a sip from his can, then turned to Ayaan. "You ever think about how weird it is? How we're always in each other's space?" He smiled, but it wasn't the teasing kind. Ayaan swallowed. "We trained together." "Sure," Zayan said, "but it's more than that, isn't it?" Silence folded between them. Ayaan looked at the fire, then back at Zayan. Zayan chuckled, suddenly lighter, masking the weight of his words. "I'm just saying, maybe we could try it and see what happens." Ayaan blinked. "Try what?" Zayan leaned back, still smiling. "I don't know. Us, or something close to it." It was a joke. It had to be. But Zayan's eyes didn't match the grin on his face. There was hesitation there. Vulnerability. Ayaan's breath caught. He looked away, forcing a laugh. "You're drunk." "Maybe," Zayan said, "but maybe not." They didn't speak after that. The sounds of their teammates drifted in, laughter and shouting, but it all felt distant. Ayaan didn't sleep that night. He lay awake, dissecting every word, every breath. It could have been a joke, or something far more dangerous. The next morning, everything was normal again. Zayan joked around, tackled teammates in mock fights, flirted lazily with a girl from another group who joined their late-night bonfire. Ayaan felt foolish for believing there'd been something real beneath the moonlight. But that night replayed itself in Ayaan's mind like a looped reel. He began noticing things he hadn't dared to before. The way Zayan looked at him when no one was watching. How his laughter softened when Ayaan joined in. How their conversations now felt charged even when nothing was said. A few days later, after practice, Ayaan stayed back to work on his footwork. Zayan showed up claiming he forgot his water bottle, but instead of leaving, he stayed. Watched. "You never let anyone in, you know?" Zayan said, leaning on the wall. Ayaan wiped sweat from his brow. "I don't need to." "That's the problem," Zayan said, stepping closer. "You think needing someone is weakness." Ayaan turned to him. "Isn't it?" Zayan stared at him for a beat. "Not always." The air between them thickened. Ayaan could hear his own heart in his ears. Zayan's gaze dropped briefly to his lips before darting back up. But then he laughed, shook his head, and said, "Forget it, man. I'm just messing with you." Ayaan didn't respond. He packed his gear in silence, but inside, his world was anything but quiet. The line between them had blurred. What was friendship and what was flirtation no longer felt separate, and Ayaan was terrified of reading too much into things, of not reading enough, of how much it had come to matter. Later that night, lying in bed, he stared at the message thread between them. The words were still there. Maybe we could try it and see what happens. Simple, casual, like it meant nothing. But Ayaan knew better, because something had already happened, and it had changed everything. The days that followed were a quiet torment. Ayaan moved through training like a ghost, his body performing drills on instinct, while his mind replayed every nuance of that night with Zayan. Nothing had been clarified, and yet everything had changed. Every glance, every brush of a shoulder, now felt loaded with tension. But Zayan acted like nothing had happened. Worse than silence was his indifference. Ayaan had expected avoidance or maybe even guilt, but instead Zayan smiled, laughed, joked with others, and only offered Ayaan brief nods of acknowledgement. It stung more than rejection. It felt like erasure. Yet, beneath the surface, Ayaan noticed patterns. Zayan had stopped texting other girls, no longer mentioned weekend flings, and when someone asked if he was still seeing a girl from a rival college, he shrugged and said, "Didn't feel right anymore." It meant nothing, maybe. Or maybe it meant everything. The ambiguity was poison. One evening, after most of the team had left, Ayaan lingered behind to practice his dives. He moved through the routine with mechanical precision until he heard footsteps behind him. Turning, he saw Zayan in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "Coach said you've been overworking," Zayan said. "You trying to break yourself? Before finals?" Ayaan didn't answer. He dried his face with a towel, keeping his eyes down. Zayan stepped closer, crossing the edge of the mat. "You're mad." "No," Ayaan said. "Just tired." "You sure?" Zayan asked. "Because you've been avoiding me like I said something wrong." Ayaan looked up, meeting his gaze. "Didn't you?" Zayan opened his mouth to respond, but closed it again. He looked away, then back, something flickering in his eyes, uncertainty, maybe fear. "That night, I didn't mean to mess with your head." "Then what did you mean?" Ayaan asked quietly. "I don't know," Zayan admitted. "It just felt like something was there." "There is," Ayaan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "At least for me." Zayan exhaled sharply and sat on the bench nearby. His shoulders sagged, a rare vulnerability showing through his usual self-assuredness. "I've never felt this way before," he said. "I mean, I've had close friendships, but this? I don't know what this is." Ayaan didn't move. "You don't have to define it. Just don't pretend it's not happening." Zayan looked up at him, and for a moment, something passed between them again, unspoken but intense. Then, just as suddenly, he stood up. "I need to think," he said, his tone retreating back into neutrality. "Don't wait for me to figure it out." Ayaan watched him leave, the door closing behind him with a finality that made the air feel colder. The days grew longer, and their interactions shorter. Zayan had erected a wall overnight. No late-night conversations, no shared glances. It was as if he'd scrubbed their closeness clean from memory. Ayaan tried to act unaffected, but the ache in his chest told a different story. Then came the whispers. It started subtly. Questions about Ayaan's private life, pointed jokes in the locker room, quiet chuckles that stopped when he entered. At first, he dismissed them, but then one of the newer teammates cornered him after practice. "Hey," he said, "I'm not judging or anything, but Zayan said something the other night, about you, about how you're into guys." Ayaan froze. His heart slammed against his ribs. "What exactly did he say?" The boy shrugged. "Just that he thought you might be. Said it like a joke. Didn't mean harm, I think." But harm had been done. That evening, Ayaan stood outside Zayan's dorm room for several minutes before finally knocking. When the door opened, Zayan's expression shifted from surprise to discomfort. "We need to talk," Ayaan said. Zayan stepped aside without a word. Inside, the room was dim, cluttered with gear, the smell of sweat and cheap cologne lingering in the air. Ayaan turned to face him. "You told them." Zayan didn't deny it. "It was a dumb joke. I didn't think it would spread." Ayaan's voice trembled. "You didn't think, or you didn't care?" "I didn't mean it like that." "Then how did you mean it?" Ayaan stepped forward. "You don't get to play with my life because you're confused about yours." Zayan flinched. "I panicked, all right? People were asking questions. I didn't want them thinking..." "Thinking what? That you might be like me?" Zayan went quiet. Ayaan stared at him, the hurt radiating through every inch of his body. "You said, maybe we could try it. You made me believe I wasn't alone." "I was scared," Zayan whispered. "So was I," Ayaan replied. "But I didn't betray you." The silence that followed was suffocating. Ayaan turned, walked toward the door, then paused. "I cared about you," he said without looking back. "That's not something I'm ashamed of, but you should be ashamed of how you treated it." He left, the sound of the door closing behind him echoing like a slap. Outside, the night air was thick, heavy with the weight of what had been lost. Ayaan breathed in deeply, steadying himself. There would be more whispers, more isolation. But at least now he knew the truth, and knowing hurt less than hoping. The weeks after that confrontation carved silence between them so wide it felt like a canyon. Ayaan no longer expected glances, explanations, or apologies. He returned to practice, his routines sharper, colder, calculated with precision meant to shield. His body moved like a machine, but his spirit burned with the sting of betrayal. The locker room felt smaller. Conversations hushed when he entered. Teammates who once greeted him with shoulder slaps now only nodded or didn't acknowledge him at all. Yet Zayan remained present. Always a few feet away, visible but unreachable. He carried himself as though nothing had happened, maintaining that same casual swagger. But Ayaan knew better. He saw the cracks in the armor, the way Zayan's eyes flitted toward him during drills, the faint pauses in his laughter, the way he stood at the edge of group huddles instead of the center. Whatever freedom Zayan thought he'd bought with his silence, it had cost him something too. Then came the injury. It happened during a relay set. Zayan leapt for a save that wasn't necessary, reckless, almost desperate. He landed badly, his ankle twisting beneath him. The gym went quiet, coaches rushing forward, teammates gathering in a semicircle of shocked murmurs. Ayaan stood frozen, pulse roaring in his ears. Zayan's face was pale, clenched with pain, but his eyes still searched the crowd, until they found Ayaan's. Just a flicker of a glance, a split second. But it was there. That night, Ayaan couldn't sleep. He tossed in bed, the image of Zayan on the floor haunting him. By morning, the group chat was full of updates. A sprain, minor. Ligament tear, out for 2 weeks. He wouldn't need surgery, but he'd be benched. Ayaan told himself he didn't care. But the next afternoon, he found himself outside Zayan's dorm again. Same door, same hesitation. His knuckles hovered above the wood for several seconds, before he finally knocked. Zayan opened the door, surprise flashing across his face before he masked it with neutrality. He leaned against the frame, his ankle in a brace. "You came," he said, as if that wasn't impossible. Ayaan hesitated. "Wanted to see how bad it was." Zayan stepped aside, motioning him in. "It's not great, but I'll survive." The room was quiet, save for the hum of the old fan. Ayaan sat on the edge of the bed across from him. Zayan lowered himself into his chair carefully, wincing. They sat in silence for a few beats. Then Ayaan said, "That dive was stupid." Zayan chuckled faintly. "Tell me about it." Ayaan looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in weeks. The bruised ego, the haunted eyes, the defensive posture. Zayan wasn't unaffected. He wasn't fine, he was just good at pretending. "I didn't come here to argue," Ayaan said. Zayan nodded. "Then why did you?" Ayaan paused. "Because I wanted to. Because I still care. And I hate that I do." Zayan looked down at his hands, fiddling with the edges of a medical wrap. "I've been a coward." Ayaan didn't respond. "I thought, if I distanced myself, the noise would go away. The tension, the confusion, the feelings." Zayan's voice cracked a little. "But it didn't. It just got louder. And I hated how I treated you. I hate it every day." Ayaan stared at him, the words cutting deeper than expected. "Then why did you do it?" Zayan met his gaze. "Because I liked you in a way I didn't know how to accept. And when people started noticing, I panicked. I was afraid of what it meant, of what I'd lose." "You lost me anyway," Ayaan said quietly. Zayan nodded. "I know." They sat in silence again, this time less suffocating. There was a vulnerability between them now, raw, unguarded. "I never stopped thinking about that night," Zayan admitted. "What I said, what I meant. I wasn't drunk. I meant it." Ayaan's throat tightened. "It's not just about meaning it, Zayan. It's about being strong enough to stand by it." "I wasn't," he said. "But maybe I can be now." Ayaan didn't reply. He didn't know if forgiveness was ready to surface, but he knew resentment was growing too heavy to hold. He stood slowly, his hands in his pockets. "I need time," he said. "I need space to believe this isn't just guilt talking." Zayan nodded, a sad smile on his lips. "I'll wait." As Ayaan reached the door, Zayan called softly, "I'm sorry." Ayaan paused, then turned slightly. "I know." He left, this time not with the heaviness of heartbreak, but with the uncertainty of something unfinished. There were still wounds, still unanswered questions, but there was also a shift, a glimmer, not of reconciliation yet, but of reckoning, and maybe, just maybe, of redemption. Weeks passed. The wound between them, once raw and unspoken, began to form something close to a scar. Ayaan didn't rush back. He trained, he studied. He filled the hours with discipline, structure, anything that didn't require emotional weight. But Zayan waited, not with desperation, but with quiet patience. No more whispers, no careless jokes. He kept his distance, offered nods when their eyes met, stayed silent when others pried. The team slowly fell into routine again. The novelty of the gossip faded. People moved on to other dramas, other rumors. Ayaan didn't forget, but he found breath again, peace in the mundane, even if part of him remained restless. Then came the night of the finals. A national meet, a big one, every athlete's nerves on edge, adrenaline peaking. Zayan, still, recovering, was benched, but he showed up in team colors, limping slightly as he walked the sidelines. His voice was quiet during warm-ups, but his eyes found Ayaan, and when they didn't look away. Ayaan's performance was flawless, sharp dives, clean lines, a landing that drew the judges into silence before applause thundered through the space. When he climbed out of the pool, soaked and breathless, he didn't look to the crowd. He looked for Zayan, and Zayan, leaning on his crutch, nodded once, eyes shining. No words, just that single, shared look. Later that night, the celebration was loud, messy, full of shouts and confetti, and cheap neon medals hung like gold. But Ayaan slipped out early, stepping into the quiet evening behind the sports complex. Stars were faint, air crisp. He didn't expect Zayan to follow, but he did. They stood in silence for a long while before Zayan spoke. You were brilliant. Ayaan gave a soft smile. Thanks. I wanted to scream your name, Zayan admitted, voice hushed. But I didn't think you wanted that. Ayaan chuckled faintly. Probably wise. Another silence, but this one warm, not awkward. I've been thinking, Zayan continued, about what I said to you that night in your room, about trying. Ayaan turned to him, brows raised slightly. I didn't say it to play with you, Zayan said, stepping forward. I said it because I wanted to try something real, something I was terrified of, and when it scared me, I ruined it. You did, Ayaan said, not cruelly, just honest. Zayan nodded, accepting the truth. I'm not asking for us to rewind. I know things don't work that way, but what if we start from here? Ayaan studied him. Start what? A friendship, maybe. Or maybe we try again. But slower, safer. Without the fear this time. Ayaan hesitated. He could feel the ache still present, but it was no longer sharp. It was dull, healing. He remembered how it had felt, those early days of laughter, of accidental touches that lingered longer than they should. He remembered the betrayal, but he also saw who Zayan was now, someone who had confronted his fear, even if late, someone who had changed. Trying again means being honest, about who you are, about who I am. Zayan met his eyes. I'm ready for that. Ayaan nodded slowly. Then maybe we could try it, and see what happens. A quiet breath passed between them. The weight of everything left unsaid seemed to lift just a little. Zayan stepped closer, not enough to touch, but enough to share warmth. I don't want to be afraid anymore. You will be, Ayaan said softly. But if you're brave through it, that's what counts. Zayan smiled, more real than any he'd offered in months. The moment wasn't perfect. It wasn't grand or cinematic, but it was real. Two boys under a soft night sky, both bruised by truth, but still standing. As they walked back toward the lights of the dorms, side by side, not touching but close enough to feel each other's presence, Ayaan realized something. This wasn't a beginning built on fantasy. It wasn't the thrill of a hidden crush or the sharp sting of betrayal. It was something different, something steadier. Not love yet, but the courage to explore it. And in a world that often demanded certainty, that quiet maybe between them was more powerful than any promise.